Hey, what's up, BookTube? Welcome back to Traumatic Tomes. My name's Vince. I hardly ever say that. My name's Vince. And I also have an email, a book-related email that I always link in my description, but I never remember to actually tell people about it, so hardly anyone emails me. But the few people that I do email, I really treasure our communication. So yeah, email me if you have any bookish questions, or maybe you see a book on my shelf you might want. I I might send it. I don't know. We'll see, but you won't know until you ask. And today we're going to talk about a question that I don't know if many people have discourse on this question, but it's the question of, did the Irish save civilization? Now, that's a broad and vague topic, so I'm going to cut to the chase and show you this book, How the Irish Saved Civilization. Now, this was a bestseller in 1995, and I don't know how many copies it sold. I wasn't around back then. I wasn't conceived or anything. But I know it sold a lot of copies. I know on Goodreads today, I don't use Goodreads, but I check it to see how popular something is in the modern time. I think it has over 40,000 ratings, which is pretty crazy for a 1995 micro history. So it definitely sold a lot. But I don't know why it did, other than the title, How the Irish Saved Civilization. It's a very bold title, and I do not agree with it. The subtitle is The Untold Story of Ireland's Heroic Role from the Fall of Rome to the Rise of Medieval Europe. So, to get the thesis out of the way, Thomas Cahill, the author, is saying that the Irish monks of the early mid medieval period saved Western civilization by copying down Latin literature after the fall of Rome. Rome fell it's debated, but at some time in the 5th century BC. Now, Alaric the Visigoth, one of the barbarian kings, sacked Rome in 410 BC, and the last Western Roman emperor died in 476 BC. So 476 is kind of like the last official year, but the Roman Empire was dying for so long that you could make arguments for any time, like between then. But following the Roman Empire's demise, things kind of went down the crapper in Europe and all of the Roman territories. Not because, as Thomas Cahill says, that the people who conquered Rome or took the place were matted, unwashed, illiterate barbarians. I think he's being a little dramatic here, but the Roman Empire was famous for its efficiency and its infrastructure, and all these institutions, and like the military and social works, roads, aqueducts, whatever, all these fell into disrepair because one, people didn't know how to do that anymore, and two, there were less people because of plagues and famines and just lack of a Roman Empire. So things were kind of in the crapper after the Roman Empire, and Thomas Cahill here in this book is saying that the Irish saved it all. They rescued Western civilization. They restored order to the world. And how did they do this? He only talks about this for a couple of sentences in the whole book, but it's that after St. Patrick, St. Patrick of fame with the snakes in Ireland, Patrick was a Romanized Briton. He was born in the province of Britannia in England-ish, and he, via like slavery or something, made his way over to Ireland. He was enslaved, and he eventually settled there and founded a lot of churches and monasteries. And from there, Celtic Christianity really spread. And because Rome had never made it to Ireland, Rome had only made it to England proper, and they didn't really make it up to Scotland, where the Picts held them off, and parts of like Wales as well. They didn't conquer the whole island, and nor did they Ireland. And because of that, Ireland was a illiterate warrior society, as Cahill calls it. I'm sure he was being dramatic again, but they were not Romanized. So because of that, there were no big cities, and without any big cities, it was a lot easier for these new monastic societies or plots of land to flourish, where there would be an abbot and a collection of buildings and a bunch of monks. And these a lot of these monasteries were devoted to literary pursuits and to resuscitating either Christian or Roman works that they found in the monasteries. And Thomas Cahill is basically saying that this saved medieval European society. And he has I will give him credit that I think, based on what he said, that a lot of Irish monks were either exiled or traveled away from Ireland and founded monasteries in Scotland, like St. Columba, or England, or the Frankish territory, or the Germanic territory, blah, 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 blah. A lot of monasteries. And Cahill says that this is page 193 of the paperback. Latin literature would almost surely have been lost without the Irish, and illiterate Europe would hardly have developed its great national literatures without the example of Irish, the first vernacular literature to be written down. Beyond that, there would have perished in the West not only literacy, but all the habits of mind that encourage thought. And when Islam began its medieval expansion, it would have encountered scant resistance to its plans, just scattered tribes of animists ready for a new identity. So Thomas Cahill is saying that by copying down Latin literature, not Greek literature, there was still the Eastern Roman Empire, which was Greek, and they had all the Greek literature. But just by copying down some Latin literature, which, yes, that was good, but by copying down this literature, the Irish saved Western thought. All the habits of mind that encourage Western thought. And gosh, who would eat that up? I really don't know who would eat that up. And I really think this was a poorly written book. Thomas Cahill, he's dead now. I don't want to speak ill upon him as a person, because that's not what we should do, but I really don't think this was a great book. I did appreciate, I don't have any Irish history books at the moment, so I appreciated a little background on who St. Patrick was. I've never actually read about Patricius, as his Romanized name would be. I've never read about St. Bridget of Kildare. I've never read about St. Columba. who founded monasteries in Scotland. So it was a nice tiny primer to some Irish history. So because of that, I will keep this book until I find better Irish history books. But in the long run, this is not a book that I'll be keeping, and I definitely did not enjoy it as much as I thought I might for some medieval monasticism nonfiction work. But so yeah, let me know if you have read this book. Know it was popular, and also let me know if you disagree with any of the points that I made in this video. I know I had a strong opinion, and I know some other people also disliked this book that I know, but I mean, it is a form of commentary on history, and it's one interpretation. So I know that other people could have that. So I'm really interested to know about other people's points of view, and maybe the Irish did save civilization, and it was just so long ago that we don't know. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this book. I trying to make more videos, but I don't want to make bad videos. So I hope this isn't a bad video. But yeah, How the Irish Saved Civilization by Thomas Cahill.